Hello everyone and welcome round 15 of the SwiftX NordVPN series, which takes us to the beautiful track, the steeped track of Brazil. Interlagos, I say Jose Hermanos Hache, if I believe I got that right, but there we go. Penultimate round of the SwiftX racing series, and what a track to bring it to as we come to our final two rounds. 2.6 miles, 15 corners, 2 DRS zones, speed trap at the end of the start-finish straight, and quite the undulating hilly track. Of course, joining me in the commentary box is none other than Mr. Dean Biggles. How are you doing today, my friend?
Carnival time, my friend. It's a 4.3 kilometer circuit, 15 corners of those to your left and 5 of those to your right. 2 DRS zones. Many of those overtaken opportunities we'll see into those center S's. It's Juan Carlos Pace, my friend, that you'd mentioned, and he was the one that actually won back here many years ago. Of course, the Brazilians honor him. The Brazilians, of course, honor Ayrton Senna, and the Brazilians recently have honored, of course, as an honorary citizen, Mr. Sir Lewis Hamilton. Surprising, isn't it, really, Ben, to come and think of that, considering they denied Massa's World Championship victory back in 2009, and all those years have passed. Those memories have faded, and, of course, Lewis Hamilton has the utmost respect from the Brazilian people.
Well, so it goes come full circle. It's really just sort of testament to strength of character, say some of the characters out there, and also say proved his worth, and certainly proved his worth out on track, proved himself to be doing some good things, and ultimately has earned their respect. To say it wasn't given, it was earned. And
I think it's because, he's a hero, wasn't it, as a childhood hero. I mean, he had all those British heroes. He had Nigel Mansell, all that sort of stuff, of course, as a kid, and many famous drivers throughout the years. But his hero growing up, in Prost and stuff like that in the 80s, his hero was Ayrton Senna. Absolutely. Remember, he used to also drive in that in the helmet that had the livery too for many years at his childhood karting and stuff like that. Ayrton Senna. And I guarantee one thing. I mean, Lewis Hamilton's raced against the greats, hasn't he? Like in likes of Michael Schumacher and stuff like that. Imagine how thrilled Lewis Hamilton that's one for the chat. Would Lewis Hamilton be able to beat Ayrton Senna? Of course, it's always a woulda, coulda, woulda, because you have to go those different time zones. That would be an interesting matchups of matchups, wouldn't it? Hey, we've got matchups, of course, don't we? There, Benjamin, if you'd like to go over what is the scenario this evening, and don't mention to Emar, of course, Durkovic, that Australia had beaten Denmark into the World Cup 16. Just don't mention it to him.
We also got a few matchups on the track, at least, and a few of them with points to prove. So first things first, to say it got where we would have Quali 2, Quali 3, like we did last time. This time we're going straight to short qualifying, so looking at optimizing the format and sort of trying a few new things ahead of season 2. Of course, we want to make sure that what we do bring to the table is just right. So short qualifying today, so got a fair few driver absences, so trying that out, and we'll also be having a 15-minute earlier race start time, so that will be at 8:15 BST or GMT rather than 8:30. So bit more dense on the action and a bit more straight to the point in terms of who we're going to see testing their worth and proving their might. And right on board now, Jytte Leppäläinen is looking on good form as we start to see the first runners head out on track and set their times.
Let's go on board with the Haas driver of Jytte Leppäläinen as he's going to make his way down close to the wall there. Going to swing it over to the right-hand side, break at the 50, take your way through the center S's, of course, the classic center S's. You make your way down. Don't spin like Sebastian Vettel, even though he didn't came all the way back. Get on the power early, exactly as he's doing his fish helmet. Get the DRS open. Down Retro Pozo, of course, the opposite straight, because it used to be the opposite direction. Get ready for the braking at 50. Swinging your way to the right around Decido Lake. Around the lake, of course, at the bottom of the hill. Hopefully know whether to climb your way up the hill to Vadodara. Another 50 braking, as you can see, swings it in perfect there. Hugging. Go out wide and up into the Pinata. This is also the duck corner, of course. This is where rookies make mistakes. This is absolutely great lap, I'd have to say. He's hooking that car. The car is sticking to the track there. A little bit of a mistake on the exit around the duck corner. That's the one where you do make the mistake, the rookie mistakes. And then get on the power and then all the way down here. You go flat, 7th gear, drop it down a couple here. Youngco or Junko, whatever you want to call it, of course. And then it's power up the hill Go, go, go. Full speed. 7th gear, 8th gear. DRS will be activated. Make your way past the Albatrosses, which is then straight back in the pit lane and says, Biggles, no, I don't want to give you a time yet.
Well, I'll say everyone's starting to throw their hats into the ring. So far, the AlphaTauris take the top spots, 107.303 and 107.6 from Lenny Cook. So 2 AlphaTauris taking the top sheets. Jasper Ten Hacken, next one to be firing a time up there, just set 107.7. Peter Locke also going to be coming through the 107.824. So you can see immediately everyone's sort of gunning, trying their best to get some time.
Joshy Bashford bashing his way up to the top of the timesheets. Will it be? No. Well, he made a massive mistake in the third quarter. And that's the reason why E2 Lapalino also went into the pit lane because he had invalidated his lap. I couldn't quite see where he did invalidate his lap, Ben, but obviously, well, the FIA stewards know exactly where those white lines are.
Yeah, so swift and fast. It's the name of the game here. So some drama in prior seasons. In our real-life counterpart, I'm sure there's absolutely no messing about when it comes to track limits here. We see Illicorpi now in the Ferrari, seeing what times they can put down. I wonder if they're missing their teammate, because, of course, before taking a hiatus from the season, Emir was in the Ferrari alongside Illicorpi. So, must be a little bit lonely in the Prancing Horse paddock, especially now knowing that their team principal... Oh, saying that, though, it's a bit of a 360, going for some style points, a bit of an opportune time. But it's going to be the invalidation from the Ferrari there. No choice but to head back into the pits.
I thought he was going to take one of those Kimi Räikkönen moments, isn't he? Trying to find the other way back into the onto the track, of course, and went into a dead-end alleyway. Well, an alleyway you want to be getting stuck at, of course, just outside of Interlagos. But yes... Exactly. Everybody in the chat, hello and welcome. Of course, somebody was mentioning about the intermediate. E2 Lapalina was on the medium tires, as you mentioned. But it doesn't really matter because he can get the set of time. Because of the sheer fact that he had to invalidate his lap. Ema, as you mentioned, yes. Well, maybe, I don't know. The Danish driver can still perform, can't he? He likes red. He's not in a red car anymore. The Ferrari. And maybe he's seeing a little bit of green and gold, isn't he, from Australia defeating his team. I'm going to bring that up all race along. Good qualifying long. Lapalainen, again, starting another one. Ben, you can now on board and give us a hot lap guide around Interlagos.
Whereas a hot lap, here we go then. On board with Lapalainen, they're going to be going for a second run here. Initially getting a good run at, say, 107.9 last time, but they've got to improve quickly. Already goes half a tenth faster here. You can see, technically... So coming out of the first sector and into the second, say, gets Kirby, it's all about setting your trajectory, setting your momentum. You've got to commit deep into those early 2 apexes and then wash out. Make sure that you're as straight as possible on the braking. This sort of mid-sector 2, you can ride the banking a little bit. You can use the undulation of the track to your advantage here. Let's say really sort of lean into the grip on those outside tyres. So you have a bit more play than you otherwise would. It's a little bit slower on the sector 2 for Lapalainen, but it's still bringing in hot, still bringing it in strong. Question is sector 3. This is all of the speed, all the ERS, DRS. You can see coming right into the apex, minimizing the amount of distance you have to travel. It's going to be enough. It's going to be good enough for a 107.4, and that is P2 for the Haas, and it's great going.
Absolutely brilliant. You're right. Welcome everybody in the chat at the moment. Talking about dark horses being knocked out at the moment. E2 Lapalainen at the moment could be the dark horse and denying perhaps Emar Dokovic World Championship, of course, for multiple championships that he has there for the Dane driver. Hey, the Danish team might not be able to getting through the next part of the FIFA World Cup playoffs, but I'll tell you what, he's going to be getting his way into maybe the top step and another trophy in his cabin, and isn't it wrapping up for another series? He needs to basically score 0 points, isn't it? And Jasper Ten Hacken needs to give it everything he possibly can. Bring the goalkeeper up if you need to deliver the results at the end. Give it everything you got. Otherwise, that's it. Yeah, Emar will be wrapping up another one, another trophy cabin. And I already told him at the moment, mate. I already gave him some carpenter's advice and where to put another shelf on his room there for another trophy.
Well, it's really just that early consistency and high performance that's really sort of sold it to the point where even with an Cause Guard just about catching it out of the wall, saving his car to fight another day. Brilliant save there, but just cooks it a little bit too much through the second sector. He's going to have
and he passed my lone pine tree as well, too. That's the lone pine tree that I believe I cast. You'll see it. Are you aware of that Lone Pine Tree as well, too? Turn 8 or 9, 10 or so. It's inside the track. It has its own little barrier around it. I've mentioned this before multiple years now that I've been casting. I didn't really notice it in the Formula 1 television, but I'll tell you what, I noticed it in the game, and I was like, there's a palm tree in the middle of the track. It's a runoff area. It is. There's a bit of a gap around it for the fence. That's where I sip and have my pina coladas, Ben. You should be joining me on that one. This cause card is about to set another lap, perhaps. But yeah, just to let everybody know, the numbers are going to be decreased, of course, as we go a little bit further through the season, because it's getting Christmas time. You know, people have a lot of stuff on their plate, don't they, Ben? It's getting chaotic time, per se, as you wrap up the season.
Well, it's coming,
but it's
Christmas,
also a good
isn't it?
indication for everybody out there to sign up for the next seasons that are coming. And don't forget, use your NordVPN. Hey, the only way I could watch that Australia win the football match today, I had to, because it's free to watch the television, right, in the UK. Okay? If you have a TV license, per se. But if you come from a UK IP address, you can watch the BBC and ITV for free. But you got to be under a UK IP. I'm not under a UK IP. Slap that NordVPN on. Bang. Baby, I got that football match up in 4K. Done. Thank you, NordVPN.
Yeah, it's great. So great to have them on board. And one thing I will say is that people aren't having the greatest time right now. The Alfa Romeos, Larson span coming out of the first corner, and Bashford lost their front wing, hitting, say, the inside wall coming out of the first sector. But Amir is going to be immediately coming back in and setting another top time. It's a 107.1, so chipping away another 10th off that threshold and saying, you know what, I can do one better. I may be leading here in short quali, but I can do one better.
But he said he'd been practicing about 100 hours. I'm just going to check his hour profile currently on Steam to see if he's actually put 100 hours into that one. And on Steam, it can tell you if you are friends with a particular person. It can tell you how many hours you put in that game. If they share that information publicly, I'll get back to you on that one, Ben, to see whether or not he has put an extra 100 hours in Brazil. All right. That's a determination of a man that wants to wrap up a championship, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly determined. I mean, I know that they put in at least a couple hundred laps of practice. That I can say for sure. Question is, whether it is that 100 hours, I'm somewhat skeptical. Maybe lifetime, but
I am as well, mate, because you usually do about 300 for a season. How many have you done in Forza? But we don't talk about that one, do we?
Oh, no, there were, at one point I remember, and it was my second ever race, and the only race I ever won. I ended up doing 463 laps.
Wow.
Of practice for one race.
You were definitely doing a lot of hours. All right, looking at emails, information at the moment. Recent activity, 44.7 hours in the past 2 weeks of the F1 2022 game. 318 hours on record. I'd have to say, if he did put 100 hours in practicing, he hadn't done it the last 2 weeks because it's 44 hours. Do you think it's a little bit of talk? But
well, I think maybe he was referring to lifetime. I think maybe he was referring to lifetime hours.
Maybe. Give him that one.
I know for a fact that it's been a couple hundred laps for this track in recent times. That much can be confirmed.
How much do you love this track? Classic Brazilian track. Should be the final race of the Formula 1 calendar. Unfortunately, they don't have the oil money to buy their way to like Abu Dhabi. How many classic races have we seen in going to Brazil to the tooth and wire throughout the season?
I think in terms of the track itself, and say Illico will be coming to 107.8. Enough for P10. As Lot goes P4, pushes Lenny Cook down to the bottom and into P5, the bottom of that sort of top stack. But I think, as a track, Interlagos is the only other track that is more of a roller coaster, I say, is Zandvoort, and even then that's a recent addition. It's such a unique element of a calendar, not only in terms of its actual racing prowess, but its history as well. It's like so much has been decided on this set of 15 corners, this undulating stretch of tarmac, these particularly coloured curbs have decided championships, they've decided fates, rivalries, everything has come down to here in the past. And I think, it is irreplaceable. No matter what tracks do what.
And of course, on top of it, the changeable conditions, of course, in Brazil, that happens a lot with the changeable conditions. That happens a lot. So once again, you're not going to get any of those changeable conditions, are you? In the Middle East, it's not going to be like, oh, we might have rain in 10 minutes. No, that's not going to happen. So there's none of that. Brazil, of course, and then of course the Brazilian fanatics, their football fanatics with their Formula One. Unfortunately, we don't have a Brazilian, even in our grid here at SwiftX, but there are Brazilians even in Formula One. But they just love it. This track, and you got to remember, and this is interesting to ask anybody out there, it used to be the opposite direction as well. You got to remember, this track, that's why it's called the Recto Opposto, or the opposite sun as well, into the Sol. It's because, Ben, and that's Curva do Sol, it's because, Ben, the reason why the Curva do Sol used to go up, you can imagine if you are going through the Cenaresas backwards, you go up and there's a sun that pierces you, of course, in the sun setting here in Brazil, in the afternoon, straight into your eyes, blinded the drivers, and so they elected to reverse the track. That's why it's one of those anti-clockwise tracks rather than clockwise tracks. That's why all that makes the difference. But there's so many different variations. And on top of it, Ben, this track is also a park. It's open to the public. So when there's no race day, you and I can walk around it, jog around it, do whatever you want around it. You can't drive around it, but you can just enjoy this park. And it's a fiesta, of course, of entertainment as well too. All the concerts and stuff like that have on all the time here in the middle of the city. You got to make use of the resources that you have as a park.
Oh, he's the perfect landscape for it. I'd say it's got between, say, all of the stretches of tarmac and runoff. So it's got the beautiful green grass, beautiful trees, and say just the scenery. So you strip that away, you've got a brilliant venue. So you got to take Hardwick now. P8 needs to improve and set a better time here if they want to be jumping up the board. Say 2 minutes to go. This is kind of do or die time for our drivers here at SwiftX in the penultimate round, as we are on board with the only Alpine on track right now. And it kind of just highlights, looking at the team compositions, it really does highlight. They've got a few absences, like no McLarens, one Alpine, one Aston, one Ferrari, even one Mercedes. It's like one of the teams that we've sort of seen be a stalwart of reliability, but it's just that. It's coming up to Christmas. It's coming up to the end of the season, starting to wind down, prepare for season 2. And it is just sort of an inevitability in a way.
It's Mercedes versus Ferrari as well. And so there is one Ferrari, there is one Mercedes. Jasper ten Haken's representing the Mercedes. Jasper ten Haken, of course, is looking for a championship. It's a stretch, but hey, a retirement from EMAR could very much give Jasper a win. But Jasper needs a win. Needs to get everything he possibly can, and just fingers crossed that something goes wrong with the Danish driver. And of course, Noah is battling it out for his place in the championship hump overall, of course, not for the top dog, so the top tiers of getting the championship trophy. But however, he's also representing Ferrari, and he wants to make sure that he can beat Mercedes, and he has to get ahead, obviously, of Jasper ten Haken. Jasper ten Haken needs to get ahead of something in the moment, because that's not the qualifying performance he wants to do for the final time. Well, in Brazil, in this series, he needs to get on with that, and he's 5 attempts down the road from his championship rival.
Yeah, he's really got to sort of be picking that up, and a lot of the drivers here, and say respect to them for being here and still say being a part of the league, a lot of them do recognize that this is sort of that final chance, that final push they can make for the championship.
Yeah, Oatley at the moment there. Oatley, I'm going to go listen like your sunglasses, Oatley. But he's asking, will there be a second season of SwiftX and F1 2022? I absolutely believe there is. As emails are representing, there will be. Goes even quicker, 2/10. Putting the statement down right now. If he didn't practice 100 hours, a little bit of exaggeration, but maybe that exaggeration is paying off, isn't it? That's psychological warfare 101. Man that used to be in the Ferrari is the man that is now in the lead there, setting a fashion statement for the AlphaTauri. Yes, sign up, obviously. Hit all the buttons below there. And if you want to be a part of the second season for SwiftX, absolutely. There will be definitely a second season, because it's been a great, great series, hasn't it? Even throughout all the hurdles that we've had to do with Ben, we're still getting down to the crunch time.
Yeah, and so coming down to crunch time, everyone's been throwing in their best hats in the ring. Say, Will Casson getting a P3. Larson's improving, but it's still only P5. Peter Lock P6, staying down in the pits. Hardwick down to P9. Ilacorpi P10. P11 goes to Korsgaard, who got disqualified from the session a little bit earlier on. Lapalainen went round, and that just leaves, say, sort of our top pole position, cruising around the track to finish the cooldown lap he's on, and then sort of calling it time. So great job there. Say all of them only 3/4 of a second split between them, and then the top 9 less than half.
And Oatley was out there asking, you're right, exactly. We'll get those results up in a second. He's asking why half the grid did not set a time, because half the grid isn't in here at the moment. If you'd like to go through the grid that did set a time for us, please, Ben.
There we go. So this is your grid, 11 drivers here. So we have Amir Djurkovic in 107.098 today, almost in that 106 territory, but a brilliant performance nonetheless. Tailed by E2 Lapalainen in the Haas, a couple tenths behind with Will Casson shortly after in the Aston Martin. P4 goes to Lenny Cook in the AlphaTauri. Second field to Emma right now, 377. With Anton Larson 4 tenths behind in the Alfa Romeo, his teammate in P8, and you can see the rest of the standings on screen. Peter Lock, Jasper Tenaken, Thomas Hardwick, Noah Ilakorpi, and Gustav Korsgaard. And I say that always feels weird. I'm so used to our standard quali that
yeah.
So this is the part where I say, and we're heading into Q3, but say no, it's short qualifying.
That's because it's getting close to Christmas. You know, Santa Claus is coming, my friend, and he hasn't got time to wait around, doesn't he, for a couple more qualifying sessions. As we mentioned, people are getting to that business end, isn't it? Like, you got a lot of busy stuff going during holidays, and that's the reason why, got to fill off all grid. You're asking what happened with the rest of that. That's just not the case, of course, and you'd be lucky if you find any racing league anywhere on the planet right now that can pull massive amount of drivers during this period of time. But we'll have to speak to some of those drivers at the moment about that qualifying session. Who would you like to speak to, Ben?
Well, I think it's only fair that we start off with our pole position runner and say none other than Emir. How you doing, mate? Pole position in Interlagos.
Yeah, it feels pretty good. I love the track. It's the practice paid off. My PR person just told me that you guys said, I think one of you said that I did 100 hours of practice, which is not true. I did over 200 laps of practice, not over 100 hours.
Oh, I was about to say, I checked your profile, mate, so I know you didn't even do 44 hours in the last couple of weeks, but go ahead.
But I did over 5 race distances and maybe about 30 to 40 quali laps. So
I like it. So you're performing a little bit better than the Danish football team did today.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring that up, but yeah, mate, is this yours to win? Are you going to just come out in style here and just dominate there? You've already measured the trophy, haven't you, for your trophy shelf? What can Jasper Ten Hacken do right now? You just need to bring the car home, mate. Is that what's worried? But is that a little bit stressful for you to think, if I make a mistake right now and there's a DNF, it could be all over?
Well, I don't think the pressure is on me. The pressure is on Jasper because he's meant to win this one. I came back from a break and I was behind in the championship lead, and now I'm closing it down. And I think he's the one under pressure because he's expected to win, while I'm basically the underdog in this scenario.
Well,
because I have to play catch up.
Let's bring Jasper in here, Ben, if you don't mind, so we can have them also talk about it, because I like to have this rivalry. It's like a boxing match, isn't it, for a preview boxing match? Here we go, Jasper. And Jasper, just joining us recently, Emo was saying, well, it's more about your race to championship to lose rather than Ema's. How do you feel about your qualifying? What happened, by the way, to Jasper?
I think he's right, really. I mean, he can win all he wants, but it's about my finishing position, really, to look if you can drag it on to Abu Dhabi. So about qualifying, yeah, P7 is not great, really. I was hoping for a bit more. Nothing really happened. I struggled a bit with the tire warm up, so every time I started my lap with a bit like cold tires, and I lost some time. And yeah, at the end I finished the line, so I was P7. I was quite disappointed, but then if I looked at the gap, one more tenth, and I would be P4. So time-wise, it's not that bad, but position-wise, yeah, of course, I would have liked to be a bit further up, that's for sure.
And you're stuck kind of in the middle going into turn 1 and 2, obviously. in the SNRS, of course, in Brazil. But I always say, if you do spin, you're around the wrong way. Just go back to that moment there that obviously Sebastian Vettel had, didn't he? A spin into turn 1 and 2 and end up finishing the race from last to first. So anything is possible, my friend. Anything is possible.
I don't think he agrees to that.
And yeah.
Well,
how are you going to shut down Emar? Are you hoping for changeable conditions? Is it going to be that? Is that Glock? Is that Emar? Run tire strategy going to the final couple of corners? What is going through your mind at the moment? How can you beat him?
It's Brazil, so everything can happen. It can rain, it can start off dry, and it can rain later, or the other way around. So we'll have to wait and see what the weather is gonna do. But if it's gonna be a dry race, I think it will be very difficult to beat them here. But the goal is just to keep the gap in points in the championship as close as I can. So P1 might be a bit difficult, but if there's a chance, I will take it, of course. But the goal is to minimize the point loss today. So that's what I'm aiming for.
Well, yes, but I'll tell you what, mate. You want a little bit of motivation? Australia beat Denmark today, and that wasn't even expected really at the end of the day. So yeah, at the end, come to think of that, like if Australia can do it, my friend, the Dutch can do it.
I mean, let's try to make
use that as your motivational boost today to say the Danes can be beaten. Even this man that put that car on pole can be beaten. Sorry, Emar. I'm just trying to build up the hype on that one. But, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, you need some sort of motivational boost, don't you? Jasper, you got it, mate?
Yeah, I mean, let's try and make it to Denmark else today. That's what I'm trying to do.
Ben, any questions for these guys before we get into like a nice podcast? And by the way, anybody in the chat, please ask questions as well too for our drivers.
I guess my main question is, am I the only one in here who's not following football?
I think you're the only one in here, yeah.
Christ. All right. No, so great stuff out there. I mean, from both of you, so there's clearly points to prove either way or either side of the fence. And it's certainly interesting to hear from both of you how the perspectives are on the season. I want to sort of cast my net forward a little bit, though, because I want to talk about Season 2. How hyped are you? I say anything that can be said about Season 2, anything that you're looking forward to, anything you want out of it? Give us your thoughts. Lay it on the table.
Well, I don't know about Season 2. I think for this season I put so much practice in. I think that's also why I needed the break, because I just practice too much and it makes you go insane. And I already starting feeling it again after practicing this much to Brazil. Like, I'm already feeling tired, and I think for next season I'm going to chill a bit with the practice and stop being so competitive and just try and have fun for next season, whatever that means. So that's
yeah, Jasper Tanaken, you've not shared your profile information public there on Steam, so I can't actually get any amount of hours you put into it. I know the hours that Emar's put in to the race recently.
I think I've got about 1/6 of his time, so I think I'm not really in a position to practice a lot, but...
Do you have enough there for your F1, what do you call it, the...
license thing?
Yeah, the F1 license, of course. Yeah, you might be dropping off there, mate, if you're not getting enough.
No, I think I've got just about enough, but yeah. It would be ideal to have a bit more, but yeah, it is what it is.
All right. That's fantastic. Everybody want to follow your drivers out there, whether you want to be a friend on them on Steam or not. Follow the SwiftX, of course. It's sponsored by NordVPN. I'm telling you, NordVPN, mate, that was the only way I watched that race. Race, of course, the match today of Denmark being beaten by Australia. And I had to use the NordVPN to watch that one on the British networks. It was on BBC, ITV, whatever. Just put the UK. I could probably put a Danish IP address in, right, and listen to the Danish casters, but
they were not saying something for 5 minutes at the end of the match. They didn't say a word. It was just...
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they got a new commentator to say commentate instead.
I might need to now go back and use my NordVPN. Give me the channel so I can watch that back at the end.
I can show you. I can show you if you want after.
Yeah. And Ben, well, we're going a little bit shorter, of course, as we're going to go into the race. Is anybody up for any trivia, or I don't know if Ben's even prepared to do a bit of GeoGuess or something like that? Let's just chillax and have a little bit of fun here for a little bit, because do we really want to go to a break screen? I mean, obviously, if you do need a break, Ben, etc. I'm throwing Ben on the spotlight right now, but he's one of the best producers and casters on the planet.
Great.
If you guys want to, you guys want any trivia or stuff like that, let me ask you guys as drivers, of course, Ima and Jasper, do you use gloves?
I don't.
You don't?
Oh, I
Jasper?
don't use gloves. No.
No?
Oh,
Okay.
oh yeah, fun fact. Jasper sits on his couch when driving F1. It's amazing.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Jasper?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
How do you sit in the couch? Are you using a controller?
No. I've just got this like a
So you
good
just
rig.
feel the couch in there? You know, a lazy boy couch where you lay back in the chair there. and
No.
watch
It's like this. It's
Okay.
a solid one.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. You have to share some photos. I've seen the Swift Discord channel, of course, that we can check out, because I'd like to see that.
It's
The
not too
rig,
fancy,
the
it's
racing
nothing
rig.
special.
I would
From a
try. And,
potential world champion right there.
yeah, I would try and find it, but me and Jasper message each other too much, so I can't find it.
I will say, like,
And you can always take a photo. Go ahead, Ben.
that is an elite setup, and I only say this because back when I played on the PlayStation 2, I had Gran Turismo 4. I was one of the lucky, like, I think 12 people in existence, it felt like, to have a wheel for the PS2. And I remember distinctly playing Gran Turismo 4, sat on my couch, the sofa, settee, whatever, just sat there, like, wheel sat on this tray, like the fold-out tray, and my pedals just sort of on the carpet, and I was having a whale of a time. I never said I was good at it, but it was a whale of a time. God tier, elite setup, absolutely elite.
We need to share these. You guys need to share this in the SwiftX Discord,
Yeah,
of course.
I
and hit
respect
that
Jasper
button.
for it, for doing that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And by the way, guys, what do you have a water bottle next to you? How do you hydrate? Do you hydrate down the straights? Like, explain to us as race drivers. We get on so far into the season at the moment. I'm curious because I'm not a race driver. I want to know what happens to you guys
Yeah, may I explain
during the race.
what
Like
we're
when you get
drinking?
what happens when you
Okay,
get an itch,
so
right? And stuff.
This is not sponsored, but 2 hours before the race, I take 2 bottles of water that I buy because I don't drink tap water, and I always buy Saskia. And I'm superstitious. If I don't drink Saskia before the race or after the race, or maybe sometimes during the race, depending on the temperature outside or
What is that? Is that
drink
like a type of water you buy in Denmark? Is it-
What?
It's like a brand, like sparkling
Yeah,
water.
it's a brand.
Okay, it's a sparkling. Is it a still water or is it a
We
sparkling?
can buy
water?
both. We can buy
Yeah.
both.
Okay, and you buy what?
I mean, right now I have like 12 bottles of them in my room.
Is it still or is it sparkling
Still.
version of the?
Still.
Okay, so and you keep it next to you. When do you drink it? Like, and by the way, in Brazil, there's not many straightaways. Like you got the main straightaway, of course, but aside from that, I don't think you'd be like taking your hands off Reto Apolso maybe in the main straight. Is that when you're going to take a swig of water?
I don't drink too much during the race now. I
Right.
did used to do it in the summer because it was too hot. I couldn't stand being in my room, and I couldn't have a fan because it would distract me from driving.
Has it caused you any issues before you go breaking a corner? And you're like, damn, I put the bottle down, and you had to get back on the steering wheel, and you've missed the
Well,
breaking point.
Not in a competitive race, but when I race
Okay.
for fun, yeah, it has happened a couple of times. But yeah, I usually drink maybe 3 to 4 liters before a race and 2 liters after the race.
This is a question for both you drivers out there, as we're just waiting, obviously, for the race to be coming on a little bit. It's going to be a lot earlier than what it used to be. A question to you guys: what is the craziest thing that's ever happened to both of you guys during a race? Like, has some family member come into your room? Has a monitor fallen off a shelf? Has your brake pedals just moved across the room? I want to hear an experience of what's happened during this season of SwiftX, all the motor racing series, not just practice sessions or anything else. What's the craziest thing that's happened to either you guys during all this whole season so far?
Well, if I
Emil,
may,
you go.
if I may start.
go.
Yep.
So I was fighting Jasper and I didn't know who it was at that time, and he pushed me off the track 3 times and tried to kill me all 3 times, and I had to avoid him. That's the craziest thing I've experienced. But
No, okay. I'm not on track so much. Like, let's say
okay.
outside of that, in your cockpit, in your room where you're virtually racing, like anything that's happened. Like, has your dog jumped up or a cat's jumped up on you? Anything like that that's happened during a race that's kind of affected?
when I
Anything?
just started league racing, my parents didn't know I was league racing as they do now. And once I was doing a league race, my dad would come in with some food and putting his hand in front of my face to put down the plate. And I couldn't. I was trying to tell him off, and then I felt bad because I started yelling at him. And then when I finished the race, he went to bed, and I felt bad. And then I told them the next day about I'm doing some league races on Wednesdays and this day, and
Oh, that's
just
nice.
into my room.
But that's true. It happens to everybody. We forget about that because we're casting what we see you guys on the track, but we don't know what's happening in your garage essentially at the time. Jasper, what's something that's happened to you like behind the scenes, of course, behind the screen?
I think I don't really have anything that pops to mind. I think the most like the weirdest thing that happened to me was like I have a habit of when there's like football on, watching on the side on my phone on the straight. So once I was watching, I remember like if it's like the Netherlands or it was a Champions League match, and I was watching on the straight, and I just missed my breaking point and I went off a bit. But that's about it, really.
So you were distracted by the Jumbotron screens at trackside there as well, playing something else. This is interesting. I'd love to hear this from you guys because you don't get that. Well, that was during one of the races here at the SwiftX series because we're around 15. So
I think one of the first ones, yeah.
You shouldn't be watching and driving at the same time, mate. You know that for a fact. But unless it was, of course, imagine if it was the World Cup final in Netherlands playing in the final and you're racing at the same time. Okay, I'll give you that one. You could be distracted on that.
I don't think you would race if that was the case.
I mean, Denmark definitely won't play the final, so.
Yeah.
What about guys when your phones are beeping or message? Have you ever done that to another driver? You message them if you have their phone number during a race and then try to distract them somehow along the line? I know people do that.
People have tried that to me once, and I just made myself offline on Steam when they do that. But usually I turn off my phone because like just the light popping from the phone is just so annoying when racing. Yeah, and I'm very superstitious when it comes to racing because every small thing can just put me off and just ruin my pace completely. Like
so if we were the Australians trying to throw you off and winning a championship, obviously for the Danes winning the SwiftX championship, I'd just sit out in front of your house there and just we'll flash lights, throw off flares, a couple of fireworks outside your window. That's got to distract you, right?
I mean, it doesn't even need to be that big. Like sometimes if my water bottle is just a bit close to me, I will get annoyed and it will distract me. If my monitor is I'm a perfectionist when it comes to stuff like that. Like it's.
Oh, and we found your weakness then. Yeah. You shouldn't say that out loud to everybody. That's your weakness.
But I think it powers me as well because it really makes me focus a lot more when there are no distractions.
Have you guys ever had like a disconnection of the wheel or software or anything like that occur during the 15 races we've had so far?
Well,
pedals.
Okay, so in a different, I mean, it's also Swift, but not SwiftX. I had two moments actually in Azerbaijan, where my pedals would disconnect and it would put me into the wall in the sprint. And then in the race, it happened again. My pedals would disconnect and I just rammed the guy in front of me into the wall.
Yeah, but that's just because of that technical issue, isn't it? Yeah, but I hope that doesn't happen today.
Oh wait, it actually happened in SwiftX. I don't remember what race. When you were saying, oh, it's typical Ferrari of having throttle issues and.
And Jasper, have you had any of those tech issues?
I think the worst thing that ever happened to me is I got like a pop-up from my PC and then it just like...
Oh, Windows saying wants to update or something like that?
Yeah, so the game paused and I went to another like screen. I had to like go back to the game and go again.
I can personally throw my hat in the ring on this. Never get anything iTunes, iCloud, never. Randomest times on Earth, they will freeze the screen for a good 10 seconds and then pop up Apple software update. It's like, no, go away, do not.
But this is interesting because
I was in the middle of a race and the game I was in the middle of a Forza race and the game paused because it pulled up this update text and then it paused it again when the pop-up appeared.
And this is interesting to everybody who wants to sign up for racing series. I mean, you don't realize, but these little things affect your race. Now, we might see somebody slam up the back of somebody else and go, what the hell is going on, with them? It's because of these little things that occur in the background that we don't know. And that's why I want to ask these drivers and yourself about that, because it does occur. We get it. I get it as broadcasting and casting as you do, Ben, but that's okay. We live to see another day because we're broadcasting. But drivers, of course, traveling 200 kilometers an hour into a corner on the heavy braking point, and all of a sudden a pop-up comes and says, hey, you need to take the trash out or something like that, then you're in trouble. And then we are dumbfounded up in the casting box going, what happened? Drivers like that don't make mistakes, but it happens. So just remember, guys out there, we need to join leagues just ask those questions out there to everybody else going, okay, what do I need to disable? Disable any notifications possible, right? Because it can affect your race.
Absolutely. And I say, I'd say before we head off on a break now, I do want to say it was nice to chat to you both. It's like almost a more like light-hearted tone, having a proper conversation rather than a more sort of structured interview. Sometimes it's just nice to sit down, have that conversation. But anyway, we are going to be heading to a break now. Just a reminder, race is starting at 8:15, not 8:30, 8:15. So 15 minutes early. And we will see you then very, very shortly as we get the racing underway. Penultimate round, SwiftX Racing Series, sponsored by NordVPN.
It's Wednesday, it's Interlagos, and it's the Brazilian Grand Prix, and we have many, many reasons to smile as we adventure ourselves into the 15th round of the Formula One Championship, presented by SwiftX and also presented by NordVPN in the track. And what a test of the gladiators fighting their way into the battle of the championship in this 4.3 kilometer circuit. 15 of those corners, 10 to the left and 5 to the right. The two DRS zones overtaking opportunities into turn 1, turn 4 and 5. Casino del Lago as well. Twists and turns in the infield could be very, very tricky. This circuit, Juan Carlos Paes won here in 1975, and my Aussie team Brabham. And there's a wonderful statue of him as we pass our entrance every day into the circuit. And of course, Sao Paulo in Brazil shares a border of all South American countries except for Chile and Ecuador. And the Brazilian flag is the only one in the Formula One calendar that does not have red in its color, unlike the Danish team as well as the Australian team. It's carnival time and it's race time. Hello, Benjamin. I am the Dean Biggles, and of course, once again, the legend himself, the producer, the caster, Ben. Looking forward to this, mate.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well, because this is where a lot of battles can be decided, not just in, say, the championship fight, drivers, constructors, but also up and down the field. We've sort of seen little micro rivalries coming together, and whether that's something like, say, the team force that is the Aston Martins coming to the fore, finally finding their form in the second half in splits 3 and 4 of the series, or it's someone, say, further down, like the Williams team, say, likes of AJ Jackson, Korsgaard, really putting in some top tier performances, punching above what you would expect from the blue team, otherwise in the real life situation. But as we wait, as we're about to get underway, drivers preparing and getting their setups geared in ahead of the race, anything that you expect to see, any sort of big fights, I don't know, because remember we got a limited...
It's Emails to win, right? It's Emails to win. He came back a little bit of a retirement there. He switched over from the Ferrari and into the AlphaTauri. So unusual to see him not in the red, but he still wins and wins and wins. Jasper, of course, needs to win the championship, and he needs to score at least 4 points. We put ultimate round, of course, so there's a little bit more to go. But that's if Emar DNFs. That's the thing. Emar has a DNF. But Emar's cleverly parked that car on pole position, so he should make his way through the center S's with no problemo. Weather forecast, well, Benjamin, you know, no rain dance, I'd have to say, from me this evening. It could be pretty much nice skies here in Interlagos. Good carnival time.
Well, so looking a little bit overcast during during our short qualifying session, but it's looking a lot brighter here.
Formation lap gets underway here in Brazil.
This is the formation lap, say, medium and hard strategy.
Will we be treated to another today? Well, let's find out.
Absolutely. Alex, sorry, Alex is not Sky Sports, mate, or Channel 4. This is SwiftX and NordVPN. Once again, I brought this up during the qualifying session. I'll bring it up again. It is absolutely true. I had to use NordVPN today to watch the Australia beat Denmark. That's right, Emma. Australia beat Denmark in order to watch the football match there. I tuned into a UK VPN, watched BBC broadcast that one. Hey, it's so easy, isn't it, when you can just switch over to your countries? Short formation lap. Benjamin, are you getting hyped, mate? Penultimate round could be wrapped up for the championship right now. Or is Jasper going to survive another day?
I don't think to say Jasper's going to give up that easily. I know we're going to see a Herculean fight at the sharp end of the field. So you've got the AlphaTauris putting in a good statement. But as we get ourselves geared to go, the track is hot. It's 5 red lights. And we are away. So right now it's looking like a very good getaway for the AlphaTauri of Durekovic. Also for Lenny Cook, swooping through in the middle, immediately getting the jump with that mediums, and a great start to jump up to P2. Join his teammate, make it a 1-2 for the AlphaTauri suit. Looking a little bit further down the field as well. Looks like we've got, say, a bit of jostling in the mid-pack. The Alfa Romeos, P5 and P7, trying to find space, jostling and fighting for position as Ilakorpi and having a second entry. I think that's a minor error. That is Arjan Bilbas, but Bilbas to say joining Ferrari, and Ilakorpi finally having a wingman to inside, but it's not doing so hot because they're both P10 and P12 now, as he's tussling with Hardwick down the bottom end of the field, trying to find position and find some space.
Gotta find something around here. You can go side by side through Brazil as they climb their way up at the top of the hill. Two for now going for it, of course. It's good to see Ferraris. They're battling out Mercedes in the championship. They are side by side. Here we go. Into Yanko, of course, the junction at the bottom of the hill before they make their way up at the top of the hill. Who's going to have the exit speed? Not going to have the DRS, of course. Ferrari versus Thomas Hardwick as they make their way rolling past all of the VIP lounges. Here we go. Great entertainment. Oh, straight in the pit lane, of course, there for Noah. So it must have been damage in the Ferrari.
There might have been some slight damage to maybe say front wing end plates, minor contact being made during that battle. But one thing's for sure, that early pit so early on is certainly going to damage their race efforts.
Just to note all that hype at the moment, isn't it? But there's hype, of course, because Emar's leading there, and his teammate Lenny Cook there can prove to be maybe the teammate that what does it play? Well, we have seen that Mr. Max Verstappen there and his teammate before in the past haven't exactly been the most Christmas cards exchanged between them. Last in the P5, chasing down Cass and E2 Lapalainen. So far, so good. You'd have to say Lenny Cook has done a delivery, hasn't he? You get that car from P4 up into P2 and helping his teammate out probably secure the championship.
I really think it's just a great example of team play there. Gets the jump right out the gate, surges to P2, and now they can pull off the wingman performance of a lifetime. They know what's at stake here for Amir, so he knows that he needs to drive hard and have the space to do so. You can see right there, about a second's gap already there, and then 1.5 between himself and Lapalainen. So as Amir comes through, fastest lap of the race so far. It's looking very strong for our
DRS is now enabled. That means Larson that couldn't quite get past Carsten in that last lap is now going to have an opportunity for the DRS to be open. Here we go. Alfa Romeo on the outside there, taking well, I know how much you really, really do love the Aston Martins, my friend, but that is job done. Secured into Casita del Lago, up into P4 for Larson.
Yeah, and it's looking like Larson's they've done a really good job considering the situation. Both the Alfa Romeos, in fact, so holding the mid-pack very nicely. They've got a decent amount of grid control here, and they have a few options at their disposal. So Bashford themselves is trying to make a bit of a charge to Tenaken, but Tenaken's going to have a mind of his own. He knows what else he's got to fight for also.
He's got to fight for the championship. He's got the medium tyres, as well as his main competitors at the top of the timesheets. Of course, Imar's on the medium tyres. I know at the moment those medium tyres are going to be cooking up a little bit more in the Brazilian barbecue, so they'll have a little bit more pace in them. Here's Jasper time. Jasper, straight away, got the DRS, and so does Cassie. But look at that. 8th gear. Mercedes power. Is he going to make it into the center race? Is he going to stick to the racing line? He's going to break there. Did a little bit of a lock up, but got it done there. He's got Larson up the road there. And there he is, Jasper Tenaken up in the P5.
That's a great move there. So just sort of making the best of the situation. DRS, ERS and the overtake power. It's just all that's needed. And now he's in a good position to defend as well. Although, as we come to the second sector, if he doesn't get too much of a push, then he might find himself open come the start-finish straight all over again.
And Benjamin, the E2 Lapalainen, got eaten up a little bit in the house there on those hard tyres. And you've got to be able to think about the Jasper Tenaken behind him now soon. And E2 is playing that different ball game, of course, the different alternative strategy. It'll pay out a little bit later, of course, when those medium tyres burn through all the carcass that they have and the rubber. And it will allow E2 to come back into play. So far, so good. Everybody all pointing in the right direction. No, with that early pit stop. But yes, I think at the moment, Jasper Tenaken is sizing up a little bit of Haas for his Sunday or Wednesday snack afternoon here for the SwiftX, sponsored by NordVPN.
And I think because that alternative strategy, especially start from a high position, it's a really good move if you want to stifle your rivals. Say Tenaken, looking around behind, obviously they're going to have to lose time from making the pass on the hard tyre runner. So you are running at your max pace on those hard tyres, whereas the medium guy, they're going to be kneecapped. They're going to be struggling a little bit for pace. And in fact, probably already slowed down some of the cars ahead so that when it's their turn to get on the mediums, they are going to be laughing if they can pull off a good timing on the pit window.
A laugh all the way to the bank, of course, like Daniel Ricciardo did, even with a $21 million paycheck out there and gets re-signed to Red Bull. But Jasper Tenaken can't be laughing too much at the moment because he's got a very pacey Cassie behind him, Joshua Bashford. And Cassie's picked up the pace, of course, there on the hard tyres. Can Carson make a little bit of a run? I'm not quite sure. Jasper is not making that much of a gap there on E2 Lapalainen. He needs to get the exit out of Yanko as best as possible here. Get that within at least half a second to at least make a run with the DRS at his disposal. And Alex has gone for a bit of a spinneroo. But keep an eye on that battle course. I want to see whether or not Jasper has enough in the tank there for the Mercedes. I don't think so. He's too far back. Even with the flashing light of a round head of energy from E2 Lapalainen, it's not enough.
I'd say it's just about the resource at this point. I'd say they should have, by all means, the compound advantage. So whether it's, say, compound advantage, getting the DRS like I've done, say, throws a dummy on the inside, doesn't quite commit to it, say, still got too much distance to make up, but making that all-important statement of intent, saying, yep, I'm going to get past you, I don't care what it takes, I'm going to do it. Say, starting to put that pressure on, at least in the mind games, start to come out. Maybe you can see about getting them to make a mistake, but Lapalainen's been looking very stable despite the rubber disadvantage.
Well, it's because Lapalainen qualified P2, so he had the pace course during the qualifying. It's just he's elected to use those hard tyres, and we all know it's a little bit more difficult to drive. He is the leader of the hard tyres, currently in P4, holding off, of course, the man that perhaps could wrap up a championship, be a part of a champion. Peter, unfortunately for the Red Bulls, gone around somewhere, had a bit of a spinneroo, and Peter's lost it out of turn 11, I think, at the moment. There's also another car that's lost it out of turn 11 nearby him. I'm quite sure there was contact, but go back to Cassie. Cassie making a run right now and denying Jasper ten Hacken a potential couple of points here. Jasper ten Hacken trying to come back here, side by side, going down to Reptile Posse. Who's going to get that DRS activation? Should all get it because of the activation of the car at the road, but this is it. Jasper can't afford to lose any of these places right now as Cassie's denying him, shutting the door on the Mercedes driver. Well, that's going to be frustrating there for Jasper.
Yeah, it's just that sort of almost left field move there coming from the Aston Martin. It's almost to say, actually, I see what you're doing, and I raise you this. How about I join in on the fun? I may be on the slower tyre, but that doesn't mean I'm slow.
Does this mean now the slower tyre, aka will be the mediums that were the quicker tyre? Had they chewed through that? Well, Benjamin Rain's lurking in the background again. It's always Brazil. It always provides those surprises. I love it. Should be the final race of the season. Unfortunately, with Formula 1 calendar, we don't have the oil money, but we are in, well, there it is. Dinosaurs have been sitting around for a few million years. Joshua Bashford's not looking at sitting around at the moment. He's about to take Jasper. I don't think he's going to be bold and brave to take it up there as E2 does lose that position. E2's in a bit of a power slide, and then they're going to be coming full speed out of turn 2 and 3. Down, Reptile Posse. They're going to DRS, and E2 could be losing 2 places here, Ben.
He's going to have to go defensive, really has no other choice. Damage control at this point. Lost the position to the Aston Martin. Cannot afford it to lose it to the Mercedes or the Alfa Romeo as well. It does a good job placing that car on the inside right where it's frustrating to be. And you can see Tanhaken's almost getting desperate now. You see it in the micro movements of his car. As they trying to throw left, trying to throw right. So that's a safety car coming out, a full core safety car. What's happened on track?
Trying to look at exactly what happened on track. Maybe a carbon fiber float around there. They decided to cool, calm, and collective everybody down at the moment. And why not? Which will also bring in a bit of a question, because now approaching up into Yonko, Emar and Lenny Cook, of course, so they're going to be double stacking because they're at 9/10. That is team. Are they going to go in? Emar, you'd imagine go and get rid of those medium tires, right? You'd have to say Ben. Does he go in the pit lane? Stays out.
I don't think
that
he
means
needs to
Lenny
yet.
Stays out. All right.
It's
wow.
not. It's the medium tire. It's just not the right time. They're too young on the mediums for it to be worth it. Not to mention, at this point, even the hards would lose a lot of pace. So
E2 went in on the hards. But I imagine that's damage if we go down to pit lane and have a look at the Haas driver jumping in. I'd imagine it's a front wing change. No, just tires, Ben. What about Bilbis and the Ferrari? He came in and out. These are just tires, Benjamin. Just tires. Now think about this. This is another one to throw a spanner in the mix, and welcome everybody, of course, tuning into the SwiftX series, penultimate round, sponsored by NordVPN. That rain is lurking. So Ben, if you are on the mediums, mate, I probably would have thought about switching to the hards, run it to the rain, Ben. That, of course, is the rain, if the rain comes, but run it to the rain, and then go straight onto the inters. But, you know, easier said than done, right?
Yeah, it really is a bit of a guessing game. You can't afford to be sort of playing and rolling the dice, especially if you're in these higher positions. It's not something that you can so easily gamble on. I'd say Lapalainen takes a bit of a gamble going on to the medium compound.
That's not bad.
Even
if the rain is 15 minutes, man, he did 15 minutes on those mediums.
Yeah, say Bilbas is on the soft. The thing is, if you ran this in normal running, unless you did some amazing tyre conservation, you'd either be losing a lot of time or you would be looking at something like a 2-stopper for a final soft dash.
Well, if Bilbas is gambling on a safety car, so, I mean, for one, he's in a Ferrari. Two, those red stripe tyres look great against a red stripe car. And that's just for showmanship, of course. They're for the Ferrari, very popular here in Brazil. It's got the shell on the side of that, one of the motorsports sponsors here in Interlagos. But yeah, he can catch back up there. He's 15 seconds to change down the road on the safety car, punch back up. And he's got, I think he'd be gambling on another safety car. Another safety car, of course, he could stay out, make those soft tires go to perhaps that rain that is lurking. And I think you and I, Benjamin, have been around Interlagos a few times, mate. Come to the afternoon in the tropical rainforest of Brazil, there's a good chance of a little bit of rain.
Yeah, it looks like rain might be on the horizon. The question is if it will come in enough to make a real difference. That's more the fact that, say, well, with the weather being so unpredictable and the fact that it's on the horizon, say we've still got 26 laps to go, but every ticking minute behind this safety car is valuable time as the clouds might roll in closer. So at what point is the right point to switch to a wet type strategy? That's the question you've got to be asking on the pit wall, in the driver's seat. Those are the kind of questions you've got to be asking. It's a judgment call. There's never a right answer. And that's really what makes those kind of races, those variable ones, so interesting.
You're right, Benjamin. And one thing, as an old engineer, before I ended up into the casting booth, was when I was engineering drivers with the software that I'd have. And there's free software available, of course, if you want to engineer your drivers out there. It's an interesting call because the game itself, well, you're going to have your engineer in the game that's going to tell you. It's not Jeffrey anymore. They're going to give you an indication of what it's going to be. The game in changes. So every 5 minutes at the moment, currently, in 5 minutes' time, 18% chance of rain. In 10 minutes, 21% chance of rain. 15 minutes, 48% chance. But the game's going to tell you in 5 minutes, this is what the scenario is. It's not going to tell you what it's like in 15 or 30 minutes. 30 minutes time from now is showing a rain thunderstorm. So you've got to rely, if you have engineers, this is SwiftX, of course, the top dogs. They might have engineers out there and telemetry, spotters to tell them what's going on. Even if you're on the pit lane right now, Benjamin, put our hands out the window at the moment in the casting box and feel whether or not there's a couple of drops there. That is something that the beautiful thing about the game, of course, is that dynamic weather, but the engineers in the game, I wouldn't trust them so much, Benjamin. Got to trust in your knowledge and your experience.
Yeah, and that's what really separates the more experienced drivers for maybe those who have taken a bit of a new affinity to the field. It's about knowing when that judgment point is of when the track's wet, when the track's dry, when the weather is set to change. Those are really things that only come with time, only come with experience. So you can't really shortchange that in any other manner. Say engineers and say spotters, all great, all good to have, but they are functioning and all good up to a point.
Safety car in this lap, Benjamin. You get to go all over there. Emil leading this race, leading the championship, and leading everything he needs to lead. Hope the graphics in the stream outline to you. They're not at the moment. AlphaTauri leading 1 and 2, as Emil is going to be the safety car and getting their gas pedal hit about now, Ben, you reckon?
Wait for it and go. There you go. So right on cue, Emir's getting it full beans, coordinating with his teammate, making sure they both get a brilliant getaway. Immediately back to that 1-2 formation. Bashford safe, dropping down to P7. A bit of a battle going on at the back of the field. It's 1 wide, 2 wide, nearly 3 wide at points. There's contact being made as Bashford goes all the way to the bottom of the field. Looks like it had a spin out, and looks like the Haas of, say, Lapalainen and De Boer is also fighting between the two of them. Already saying, yeah, no punches being pulled.
A lot of damage, of course. This is the big boys club, so it is severe damage. There's barely an assist, of course. I think the racing line's the only assist they get to use, and only arrest and all that jazz and all those gizmos. SwiftX, of course, X meaning X marks the spot for the best that there is in the business. But Bilbas, of course, making massive advantage on those Ferrari soft tires. You'd imagine be able to make it again very, very soon. making those boots work. But then again, it's not so easy just yet, but making your way up into the final couple of corners there, and I'd imagine he should be able to have Alex for breakfast if he gets it right.
Yeah, so you can't afford to be behind anyone on those softs. They've got such a pace advantage in that short stint. That's, say 6, 7, 8 laps where they're useful. They are unstoppable. So you cannot afford to be under anyone's sort of influence at any point, because it's so critical to maximize those softs while you have them.
To the inside there on Thomas. Making it, because remember, Bilbus, you mentioned the background there. Alex, what a brilliant move there. Getting it done the mediums versus the hards. And Thomas Hardwick is going to be a little bit of a hard time at the moment trying to keep this Mr. Bilbus in play behind him. Still no change at the front of the field there. Larson still in P3. We have both of the AlphaTauris in P1 and P2. Jasper in P5, biding his time and biding his way into a 007. But look at this, Jasper under massive pressure from E2.
And going down the field as well. Looks like there's some switch ups at the back end of the field. You have Bilbas fighting and pushing up to P8. So you've got the likes of Bashford down in P13 as well. But all eyes right now, this sort of top to mid pack of the field, we're starting to see them converge. This sort of P4 to P8 group is where it's starting to get interesting.
And this is as Thomas is under pressure for me to lock in there for the... It's a three-way battle. It looks like Bilbus has gone around some way, so he's losing a couple of places. But look at this, straight away down Reto Pozo. You got three cars. Thomas, no, and Alex, perhaps. Get Alex sneaking up the inside there. What is going on? I did expect this, actually, believe it or not there, Ben. It's going amazing. Alex is up. He got past Jasper Ten Hag and Peter Lockdown Noah. Thomas in P10. They're so tooth and nail separated by millimeters or nanometers at this point.
So everyone's just giving it their absolute all, aren't they? Tooth and nail, no holding back, especially coming off a safety car period. You need to establish dominance of the circuit pretty much as soon as possible. You need to stake your claim and stick to it. You cannot afford to do anything else.
And what at the moment, the one on the radio there is E2. E2 is actually going to make a massive run in from Cassie. Believe it or not, that's Cassie's, because Cassie's tires are done and dusted. He didn't take that pit stop. 14-lap tires under massive pressure. Can he make it stick? Oh, Cassie still could not get it done. He has to do it now down Red Toposo, you'd imagine. But E2 is a bit of a mastermind when it comes to those hard tires, but now he is a sitting target, and that should be taken care of him, baby. As long as that Cassie can outbrake him. No, he doesn't. Wow. It's more. It's bringing Jasper, of course, into play. Now, Jasper's got to be punishing at the moment, doesn't he? Because you have Emar on the team radio, no doubt, just sitting there going, okay, guys, so, well, our championship leader is, the championship contender is about 6 seconds down the road and a lot of traffic.
Yeah, well, he can't exactly breathe easy just yet, because they've got his teammate to sort of back him up, but looks like Larson is still on just the edge, that cusp of the DRS window, so that's going to be coming into effect. But is it going to be too little too late? Track is looking kind of overcast, so I think we might see very soon
it's
just that little signal coming out.
It's rain in 10, Ben. That even rhymes, my friend. I mean, you got the old Benjamin clock, don't you, in the United Kingdom at the moment, mate? TikTok, mate. You will get those bells ringing in 9 minutes time right now, as E2 does make a run. And so Larson's struggling big time, but Larson's sitting there at the moment wondering, can he hold on to those tires there for the Alfa Romeo drive? 15 laps, of course. And you got to remember, Emar and Lenny both are on those tires too. Larson's making a run back for some reason. He's not wanting to yield that one position back. But, of course, E2 knows, hey, my friend, I'm sorry. Those boots, it's all about the traction.
And it's coming up to the halfway point of the race here. Got a few drivers who are looking to make some moves, getting a little bit antsy, like De Boer down the back, right behind Hardwick, looking for options on better tires, no less. So yeah, getting impatient, trying to get something locked in before, we get to that crucial halfway point of the race, where people start to transition their strategy to either the second half or even the part where it gets to the wet running.
Keep it on the Red Bull at the moment. P8 at the moment. Bring it to Jasper. And Jasper can't afford to lose any more positions at the moment. If I was Jasper, go to the pit lane. No, he doesn't. He's under big pressure, big time. And that's the Red Bull around the outside of the Mercedes. And yes, you've heard that a few times this season. Job done for the Red Bull driver. Jasper's just going to hold in, isn't he? He's waiting for that rain to come. That rain is definitely coming. About 8 minutes and change now I'm getting from the race control. Weather reports. And yeah, what do you do? I think at this point, my friend, you got to look at taking a gamble, don't you? You got to undercut. Jasper needs to do something here. He needs to either pit a little bit earlier or maybe pit a little bit later and see what happens. Yeah,
but say you're already looking at the track. It looks like there might be starting to get some condensations, like reflections are coming out on track. A safety car.
Oh no, that means your gamble's over. Everybody's going to come in for inters. Or do they come in for inters? What do you think at the moment? It's not raining. But you gotta come in for inters, Ben. You know, for a couple of laps, with the rain 7 minutes or so away, it takes 10 or so before it will actually be wet enough to use the inters. But do you gamble on another set of softs, Ben? I don't want to be thrown in that situation so late in the season.
Yeah, that's where that crunch time comes, and where the hard decision has got to be made.
He must go in. He has to. Where's his teammate? His teammate Letty tried back off a little bit there. So Letty's actually backed everybody else up there. So double stack there for the AlphaTauris. Might have been brilliant here. He should very much come out ahead of everybody else because they are all boxing there, Mike. I know you need them weather graphics, but Mike, you're down there pit lane, mate. I wouldn't want to be there right now. It is double stack for the AlphaTauris for sure. Letty Cook's going to cost a lot of time.
Yeah, and so you've got 2 drivers left out on the field. It's going to be Hardwick and Ilacorpi. They're making a massive gamble here by sticking to the slick rubber.
I know, mate. Did you not get the memo about the bad strategy calls from Ferrari this season? Has Ferrari made another one? Unfortunately, we do have our Ferrari team bosses resigned. Of course, Benito. So, no, I don't get that memo, mate. That you're in big trouble. That rain coming. Perhaps, and everybody bunched up on a safety car. What is it, Benjamin? 23-second pit stop around here, and 25 seconds down to P10.
Yeah, so you save about 5 to 6 seconds under safety car conditions, but it's still a little bit of an issue that sort of can come to a head.
It's hurt Jasper big time. P10, Ema P3. We know that Lenny was suffered a lot under that double stack, so he's in P9. That's just the way the cookie crumbles, isn't it, in the AlphaTauri garage? But Jasper Ten Hacken, man. I don't know, mate. If I was an engineer, that safety car did throw us better in the mix. But at that point, I think even before the safety car was called, I would have told Jasper to go in. I would have told him to go in. Now, he would have been driving around on a dry track with some intermediate tires. Granted, but with that field bunched up at the moment, Thomas has gone in. But with the field bunched up at the moment, it's all about track position at this point.
Yeah, you see the rain's starting to fall now. And I'd say that track position is going to be hard to fend off, purely because you've got a lot of guys suddenly going to the inters. Track is getting wet. A lot of them are running dry setups as well. So in terms of, say, the car's rigging, suspension, geometries, it's all optimized for the dry. So to suddenly go to the wet, where it requires, say, a different skill set, different approach to, say, the throttle handling, you're gonna struggle. And I feel like we might see some unexpected moves up and down the field as time goes on, where people just struggle to handle that wet.
And Ben, what's Noah gonna do at the moment? He's trying to get temperature in those medium tires. They're 10-lap medium tires. They're not too bad, about 27% give or take. But he knows that rain is coming down. And you don't want to be leading this race, Benjamin, when everybody else on the field is on inters, apart from Thomas, that's running last. You're going to be sitting duck, mate. And I'll tell you what, that weather forecast is looking like a little bit of a tropical storm coming in. Safety car's in this lap too, so he's got no time to go in. This is painful. Noah has to jump in the pit lane and suffer from P1 to P14 right now, unless he's going to gamble it. I don't know. Why not? An ultimate race. Is he going to gamble it, Ben?
I don't know if he can afford to gamble it. He's got to make a decision. He's going to have to stay out. He hasn't got a choice. He has no choice but to stay out. He's going to have to commit to those slick rubbers. The track has only just started being rained on, so it might be able to squeeze out a few laps yet and see what they can do. A lot of these other runners, they're running on sort of not quite bedded in inters yet. Oh, there's a little bit of contact though. Say Kassen and Larson right there. Larson looks to be running slow, fighting against Hostler in P5 right now, dropping positions left, right, and center. Don't really know what's going on with that Alfa Romeo, but one thing's for sure, they are dropping fast. It's an Alfa, it's an Aston, it's Aston in the wall though. Looks like contact's being made all the way down to the bottom end of the field, leaving the likes of Hostler just to reel in a P4.
Well, it changes like that, doesn't it? Drastically. Thomas is up at a P9 because he's taking advantage of a drier track and everybody else is on into tires. But at that point, that's going to switch over a little bit. 3 minutes or so and change. That'll be okay. Gaining a ton of positions. But I'll tell you what, my friend, you know it's inevitable as he drives around the outside of Jasper Hacken like it's taking candy from a baby. And why not? Because he has the best boots in town. But at some point, those boots are not going to be made for walking in the torrential conditions of the rainfall coming in into lungs.
I say he's got about 2 laps on them before they start to give and really lose traction here. So it's like we said earlier about using that compound advantage, not getting stuck behind other cars, rings even more true here because you know they're going to immediately lose pretty much all the advantage they gained. This is effectively just an exercise in damage control before they will eventually have to commit to those inters.
And look at Thomas at the inside there, bang! Eating everybody here. As you know, those intermediate tires, they're about like half a second, at least a second a lap slower there. Thomas is slicing through the field. I guess it's not a bad strategy, come to think of it, because, you know, he'll have to box, but then again, everybody else is going to have to stay out. And for safety car, late safety car comes up again, another safety car, he's going to be looking pretty good, because, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on at the moment. That's a surprise we get, mate. And I tell you what, I might need a little bit of NordVPN to go back and watch this one later. Thomas up the P5! He's even taken him out of Yamco before even the main straightaway.
Yeah, it's a great charge there from the Alpine. So using the best of that rubber and really just sort of putting pedal to metal on that front. But there you go.
Boxing.
We're in that threshold now. It's getting too wet for the softs to be viable. You know he'll be able to feel it. And just as quickly as he rose up the ranks, it's going to drop back down like a stone.
I'd go full wets. I'd take a gamble. He's going to drop all the way to the back of the field right now. After all that work, I would gamble on full wets to be serving a drive-through penalty. He can't change tires now. That is so frustrating after all that work Thomas has done. I tell you what, lap another way around there and go to full wets because that rain is getting heavier and heavier and heavier. Now, it's a big difference, of course. A massive difference for how much you need puddles, really, don't you, for the full wets? But
yeah, so where you need that puddles, that practically slick track for it to make a difference. And Ilacorpi's going to suffer the same fate. Looks like the track is getting moist now. And that gap that Ilacorpi brought up, say 1 to 2 seconds, has immediately just been eclipsed by the AlphaTauri of Emir right here, chasing down that Ferrari on the mediums. Didn't even have that same pace advantage as Hardwick did, say going onto the softs, but if it means saving them a pit stop, it might have been an okay call.
But no DRS. They've enabled it. He's gone to pit lane. He had to at this point.
No real
Emar
choice.
back into lead of this race. Yeah, still don't see spots really on the camera at the moment, isn't it? Because that rain is still lurking, but that's a great thing about the F1 game, mate. It is dynamic. 81% chance of rain, but not a lot. He's going to have to gamble on those inters. Problem is right now, under a safety car, mate, he's going to drop like a stone. Build out from P1 to P12. Ouch, that hurts.
Yes, just a struggle, really. So you can't really do much else, though. There's not much that can be said. Not much that you can really do. So you have really no choice but to sort of suck it up, in a sense. That sounds harsh to say, but you got to just take it on the chin. And sometimes, I say, you got a bad hand to deal with. And in the case of, say, some strategy calls or on-track penalties, say, just gotta take it on the chin. Gotta just maximize what you have and the means you have.
What do you do if you ask? But P5 currently at the moment. Now he's been up and down like a yo-yo. The man started in P7 for his qualifying. We heard in the post-race qualifying show that he didn't have the best qualifying performance that he had. And now he's gained a couple of places, even though all that switcheroo had occurred. They're all on 5-lap inters apart from the bottom 3 that just boxed recently. So, then again, 5 laps versus 0 laps on inters don't really make that much of a difference, like soft tires and medium tires. But Jasper now got to think about how can he get Emo. That's what he's got to do. Like, what strategy? Now, I'll tell you one strategy, Benjamin. One strategy that it's going to get heavier and heavier and heavier. I'm seeing the rain forecast showing in about 10 to 15 minutes that is going to be heavier rain. But, yeah, Ben, 10 to 15 minutes, mate. They're getting close to the end of the race.
Well, say with the deficit in the pace on the Inter tires, and I question, say by that point, it might have been a case before where it's really, if you're committed to the Inters, it's not really worth it going in. You see the water beading on the body, say streaking down these F1 cars. And if I was in, say, Tanakin's position, I can certainly make up time to the likes of Lawson and Hostler. But Mia, at this point, over 3.5 seconds ahead of the nearest competitor. And even then, that competitor is, say, dropping away, seemingly. Say, like a bull out of hell.
Are they scripting this, Ben? Are they scripting it to the 2009 championship there? Wouldn't it be great, isn't it? The Emo in the lead there with the points there. And, of course, Jasper Tanakin, if you can get something done there. And is that Jasper? Could it be that? Is that Jasper going into the final couple of corners of the race, making a right strategy call when everybody else is dropping like a stone because it could get wetter? I don't know. Wouldn't it be brilliant? But unfortunately, this is still the penultimate round, so we have another one to go. Oh, I'll tell you what, wouldn't it be fantastic if this was scripted like a 2009 World Championship?
Well, one thing's for sure is that the racing, no matter which way it swings, still continues to be top tier. Everyone's bringing their A game as they do round in, round out. And as we come to the penultimate and, say soon, final next week, final race of the session, be there, witness the climax of the championship, witness champions be made. But everyone, say, bringing their absolute A game week in, week out. And I just have a lot of respect for everyone on the field. Even if they don't make every round on the calendar, they still show enough dedication, or at least enough communication, to where people know and people are all in the loop. And to say, he just shown each other the respect they deserve, as they showed each other's skill and bringing it home where it matters on race day. Speaking of bringing it home, looks like Will Casson trying to make a move around Bilbas. Doesn't quite get it done though, sort of gets squeezed on the inside, say coming through turns 1 and 2, doesn't quite lock it in.
You're right, because two minor DRS zones, 1 and 2 obviously at the main straightaway, and then down into Retro Pozo. Not there, not available. So you're only relying completely on your battery at the moment, and that's all you have up for grabs. Lenny Cook got it done on Joshua Bashford, so he's up in the P9. Remember, he got held up big time after that double stack of Emo. He was running in P2, now running in P9. Goes to show you if those pit stops will punish you, or, well, Santa Claus could be coming early or not. But exactly, Bilbas and Cassie getting it done. There's a little bit of penalty situation occurring between those drivers as well. But once again, Jasper must be thinking through. I'd love to be able to go to the pit wall there of Toto Wall and ask him. But to tell you what, Benjamin, the track is got a little bit wet, but it's not that much rain, is there? Considering there's a thunderstorm apparently coming in 10 minutes' time. I don't see it, but
I don't know. The track is looking quite slick out there. It is looking definitely like there is some, maybe say, heavy rain to come. So it's looking very sheeny. We'll say if that is a word. Let's look at this, a nice sheen over the track. Looking shiny.
Yeah, you've seen Moana, right? Shiny. You know, here we go. I'm going to have fun casting another race review there for the rest of the season there, Benjamin, because we can get these puns going too for now at the moment. 27 or 36, and Alex is putting a bit of pressure right there on E2 Lapalona. E2 Lapalona, I have to say, he's been delivering a good result there. He's been in the wars and making those tyres work, different alternative strategies, and at the moment is to keep the McLaren at bay. And the McLaren at bay, of course, Alex, from P11 to P3, looking strong.
Yeah, I have to say, on Alex's front, it's looking great for them, considering they had early race blunders, so having a couple of spins there, only to pull it back and now be currently sitting on the podium with just under 9 laps to go. That sort of speaks to the recovery effort and why you shouldn't give up on a race too early.
It's good to see it because You know, we always see different names on the field here. Not the usual names. Joshua also putting a little bit of pressure there on Beyond the Ball. We've heard those few names throughout there. Joshua going to make a run from P11 down to P10 into the center S's. No, going to last a little side by side, but of course then no DRS is activated there. So the Alfa Romeo versus the Haas, and once again it's going to Red Top also without the DRS. And well, pretty much Beyond the Ball's covered that one off. But you mentioned, yeah, Alex Hossa. Not a usual name you see on the podium, but good to see McLaren up there at the moment. He only has to hold off for a handful of laps to go, but the rain is getting heavier.
It's not going to relent anytime soon, but all of these drivers, by this point, even if it was more optimal to go to the full wet, they can't afford to commit. The time loss from the pit change would just be too high. They really cannot do anything in this situation apart from sort of grid and bear it. But that being said, some cars are making a really good work of the situation, as we've seen some gaps really start to form across the field. Say Larson has a healthy gap, Hostler as well. Lapalainen, say, got a big amount of time to make up to Amir, who was really just sort of stormed away with the whole thing.
And Cassie's making a run down into the... Sorry to cut you off there, Ben. On Bilbus. On the inside there. Trusting your car in the Cetaris is Aston Martin versus Ferrari. They got to still go side by side, of course, because Cetaris has turned into 1, 2, and 3. And it's going to be an exit into Red Top also side by side. What do you think about this one? If you're a gambling man, what are you going to put your money on? Green or red?
Well, it's looking very strong on the green side. They were banging tyres, making a little bit of contact coming through. You could sort of hear it. And there you go, say that is Bilbas running wide. But I think, say that might be the move done. Especially second sector. You haven't got to move by this point. You haven't got to move until the next lap.
Good job. Yeah, great racing as well, too, to see wheel by wheel. This is the wheel by wheel, of course, not wheel boxing, but you can actually see in this track, and you don't see it. You see it sometimes, obviously, the dry conditions, but you can go wheel to wheel, side by side, through every single corner of Interlagos. That's the great thing about this track. Now, you can't do it with many other tracks in the Formula 1 calendar. You can do it in Interlagos. We won't see it, unfortunately, at the moment, because it's wet conditions. If you do, no doubt somebody's going to be in the fence. Rain's still pouring. And the rain's getting heavier. Now, do you see any puddles yet, Ben? Do you see any puddles? And if you're Jasper ten Hacken, you got to be thinking at the moment, what am I going to do? If Emar wins this race, he wins the championship. He's got to try some random strategy.
I see that track getting glossier and glossier. And the thing is, what can be tried? That's the question. Say, yes, you've got to throw in a wild card. I've got to throw some form of Hail Mary. But just what would you bring? It's wet running. Your conditions are so limiting that it's not like the other conditions on the track where, say, you could afford to throw a set of softs on if a circumstance gets thrown your way. No, it's either inters or full wets. It's just, that's it. You don't have that versatility.
He's in P5. Let's have a look at this. The spread from P1 to P12 is 26 seconds, all right? Now, 21 seconds, 23 seconds for a pit stop, let's say.
And you just can't afford, though.
My game just crashed, but it'll continue with this one.
Yeah, so we've got that much time gap to make up, though.
Yeah, but it does. But remember, if everybody has to box last minute there to put wet tyres on, bang, all of a sudden you're back in P1. Or would be in P1. What else has he got to lose? The championship is what he has to lose.
Yes, I think it's more of a question of what he has in his arsenal to actually throw at it versus saying almost, while it is always brutal to sort of let a championship go, if that's what has to happen to conserve the wider effort, it might have to come to pass. Remember, constructors is still a core factor.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot the constructor because Mercedes battling at Ferrari. And, well, Ferraris are running in P8 or so, and, well, the Mercs are running in P5. So think about the constructors. But, mate, you know what? The constructors' trophy is not as good next to the driver's trophy, is it, on the wall?
Yes, it certainly brings a little more hollow, but that doesn't make it, say, any less of a goal to strive for. And I think maybe Tanakin's looking a bit more at the wider scope. I think that's why we're seeing not as aggressive of driving from them, instead of opting to play it more safe. Is that they know they bottle here, they don't just lose the Drivers' Championship, they lose the Constructors. Because Mercedes, I'm pretty sure, is on top right now.
And a big problem as well, too, is that rain's coming down heavier and heavier. So if you are the likes of Emar leading this championship, he's got 3.5 seconds and change, 4 seconds and change down the road. You got to back off right now, because the last thing you want to see is spinning that car in the wrong direction. And 5 laps to go, of course. Now, I'd have to say now, even with the track getting worse and worse and worse, it's just a matter of backing off and just holding off in the moment. But Beyond the Ball's not holding off.
It's continuing to challenge right now, so just see what's here. But you see the wiggling of the cars as Locke is out of the session. Not sure what's going on there. And Bilbas is also out.
Yeah, because it's gone horrible. They're aquaplaning right now. We've seen it before, haven't we? And that's going to maybe cause it could be a very much late safety car. It's been deemed. I'm going to join the reset. It's a safety car, Benjamin. Just as I'm joining the session, it's a safety car. Now, what do? This is Jasper's time to shine. You got to do something at the moment, Ben.
I don't think that there's
You've
much.
got to go to wets.
That's the question. Is it worth the tyre change? The time you'd lose, track position is so key. You could switch to wets, but I don't know if you'd be able to get that time back. Though saying that, the race leader has gone into the pits.
You got to. It's just bucketing down. Emar's going to worry about the fact that he can't keep the car on track anymore on inters. I mean, you can throw it all away, can't you? Just turning it, go through the center S's when you get a race restart and bang, you're in the fence and it's all over. Does he really want to risk it? Now he can risk a little bit of time difference there in the pit lane.
Tenaken does the same.
You can't afford to lose not finishing the race, as you know. To finish first, you first have to finish. That's a golden rule. That's what you have printed on your wall.
Tenaken does the same, as does Bashford and Lenny Cook, as well as Ilakopi. But yeah, say that Bilbas just say losing it down, say coming out at say turn 3. And just, yeah, aquaplaned, hit the wall, lost a wheel. And that is very quickly their race hopes dashed. But yes, that is full wets. I believe actually for the first time in the season.
Yeah. And I tell you what, they're going to eat everybody else for breakfast. So there's puddles on the track. E2 stayed out. Alex stayed out. Larson stayed out. Johnny 360 stayed out. Carlson stayed out. Emil the first on the wets. But guess what? Beyond the Ball is 15 laps on the inters, and Jasper is the second on the wets. Is it a Jasper and Ema showdown on the wets? I tell you what, Benjamin, this could be a Zat Glock moment. You can't script this any better, can you, for SwiftX Motor Series? NordVPN can't even script it this well. I hope everybody's having fun at the moment. Penultimate race of the season. Ben, are you hyped? Because they're boxing. E2's boxing. Cassie's boxing. They realize it's too wet.
I think, yeah, say the rain is so strong. And I know what I was saying about track position. Say track position's so valuable, but looking at the rain, it's got even stronger since the safety car period. Puddles are forming in the pit lane. Puddles are no doubt forming around the track. And Zach, you can see some of it starting to manifest on track as well. And coming out of the pit lane.
There's no way, Ben, that you're going to be braking after a restart into turn 1 and turn 2. I mean, this is a real F1. They would have red flagged this in a heartbeat. But the good thing about esports is that they're not going to red flag it. Can you imagine those intermediate tires having to slap your brake into turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 with the other wet runners around you? That car is not going to stick, mate. It's going to be big trouble.
Well, the other cars are going to have to catch up fast because safety car is scripted by the game. It's hard scripted who I believe come in this lap, so there's always 2 laps of race running at the end, regardless of
and they're all pretty
conditions.
much bunched up, mate. Just a couple, like Thomas is a little bit further down the road, Noah. But look, I'm more concerned about Emar on wets and Jasper on wets, Bourne on old tires, Johnny on old tires, Larson old inters, and Alex is on it. Can Alex make it stick at the turn 1 as that safety car peels into the... He's got to be under the massive pressure. He's doing a great job, of course, flooding in P11 there for the McLaren, but what is the pressure going through his mind and his shoulders and his heart rate right now for the penultimate race and the penultimate lap of the season?
Well, he's trying to see if he can get the jump on the race start, but of course the track is so wet that no matter what he does, he's going to be peeling out and running a bit of wheel spin. No matter what he does, those wet runners are breathing down his neck. Larson, Emir, all trying to angle up a move. Tanaka in P6 has got a point to prove too, but there you go. Hostler's on the getaway. Gets a decent enough run, but it's not quite looking
And look
down
at
the
Ema's
field.
launch! Ema's is fun. Please don't buy him into the turns here. Ema's is eating for breakfast in the wet tires, but look at this spin!
That's who's that
Jasper's
gonna
right
be?
behind Ema! Sorry to cut you off, Benjamin. Look at this!
It's just cruising around the outside.
Jasper's in P5. He got held up a little bit through there. Ema's is eating everybody else for breakfast. Lars is battling it out right now for P3, P4. Look at this, 4, 5, 6, 7 on one side into the final couple of corners of the final couple of laps of this race. It's going 2 for Nell, Benjamin. I hope you had your pina coladas. If not, you're going to have them right now because this is 2 for Nell. Ema on the lead of the race. Jasper trying to 2 for Nell there on the wet tires. Gonna get done, but Alex is holding him up. That's the McLaren. He needs to get past him as quickly as possible. Up on the inside, making his way up through the hill.
It's just immediate to say the wet runners really bringing that point to prove, and not say giving anyone a second to breathe. The inter runners are pretty much almost immediately regretting it. 3 wide at points. Hostlers say sandwiched in, nowhere to go, is dropping positions like a stone.
Oh, he's dropping everything at the moment. Through a lake at the moment. Everybody's just driving around. Look at this, Benjamin. The top 9, 8 drivers are all in wet conditions. Anybody else on the inters are down outside of P9. They're gone. They're dusted. Letty's now putting a challenge to the Jasper Ten Hacken. Yet he's trying to deny Jasper the Mercedes any chance. But Jasper's closed the door and it says none on my watch. And that's going to bring E2 the Haas into play.
I say this battle P3, P4, and P5. Overall, say absolutely bringing the heat. Lapalainen going to be looking to try and tee up a move. Peeks around, looking to throw a dummy on the AlphaTauri. Just about holding it for now. Say Lenny Cook keeping himself composed under the pressure. Still trying to take a peek and take a look around. Tanakan knows that their teammate is up leading the race, but he's also got some pressures from an Aston Martin just behind. So it's going to see what can potentially be made. The Lapalainers say keeping him honest through the second
You're running
sector.
out of time, Ben. You're running out of time. It's the final couple of corners. It's almost, I said, like 2009 time, 2008 for the championship. It's not enough. Ema had done enough. Cassie has done enough. Jasper, what a rubbery drive. He's not going to get that P2, but he's going to get a podium. Ema's going to be the one crossing the line at the moment, making use. P1 to P1. This could be championship very much done there for Ema Dugovic. Job done in Brazil. Denmark are back on the top step. Well done. You've won the Brazilian Grand Prix.
And what a drive it was. There you go. Everyone's starting to peel in now. Hotzer say in the end going all the way down to P9 as Johnny ends up retiring from the session. I think crashed on the final corner or something with De Boer, last one to head round. But there we go. Wet runners. Turns out that wet was the play.
I told you, my friend. In those tricky conditions at the moment, it's almost like you're on inters versus softs that we saw a little bit earlier, didn't we, during those typical conditions? You got to be the right tire at the right moment at the right place. Ema did. Remember, he wasn't leading that race, but I had to say it was very, very close. Isn't that 4 to 5 cars side by side through a couple of those corners there? And Jasper got held up a little bit. It could have been very much close to see Jasper 1-2 there of Ema, but Cassie snuck that Aston Martin in the middle there. And E2 Lapalainen, of course, was all in the mix there. Wow, that was one of the best finishes I've ever seen in a race. And I'll tell you what, Ben, we've seen a lot of those great finishes for this race so far this season. We still have one more to go.
Yeah, and to think, just one more round after this. It really is sight to behold some of the racing we saw. I'd say a completely new condition for the series, and yet so many drivers adapted immediately and brilliantly. Really is a testament to how well they do under these
Call that
pressures.
one, my friend. Call that one for the highlights. Shout that one out.
There you go, podium now. An eclectic collection, but a familiar topper.
Gotta feel good, doesn't it? The bubbly stuff. on the top of the chat, man. He's already felt the bubbly stuff he has before, and unfortunately, it's not the bubbly stuff he wanted to feel. That was called the rain in Brazil. It did rain in Brazil. So it is AlphaTauri, Mercedes, and Aston Martin on top of the timesheets. Benjamin would like to go through that one and email, of course, done it all in style there. Trifecta.
And what a showing it was. Fastest lap to boot as well, getting that grand slam. The AlphaTauri driver, Mir Durekovic, with a 48-minute race time. And following behind, Aston Martin of Will Casson and Jasper ten Hagen, making a great recovery effort to P3 in the Mercedes. Each lap line and takes P4 in the Haas, with Joshua Bashford behind in P5. Brilliant performance. Almost a silent rise through the ranks to a great top 5 finish. Thomas Hardwick takes P6, Noah Ilakopi in P7, Alex Hostler, Lenny Cook, and Beyond de Boer take the remaining places in the top 10. And what a competition, especially that mad dash at the end. Honestly, that mad dash to get onto the wet, to establish that sort of on-track dominance we were talking about earlier. Pretty much immediately, everyone was scrambling.
Benjamin, there's been a mad dash on round 1 of the SwiftX racing season, sponsored by NordVPN, and there's a mad dash on the penultimate lap and penultimate race of this season. And of course, I can't imagine to see what's going to happen for the rest of it. But of course, we're going to have to speak to those gladiators and those Centaurians. And I don't know. I mean, you have to call them almost gods at this point, wouldn't you? Because there's been godlike driving from everybody here at the moment. So, yes, Benjamin. Oh, yes. Let's have a bit of a breather. You have a breather.
Oh, I can't be just
have a chat.
I mean, I want to talk a little bit just before we start to talk to people about to say some of the team performances, because I mean, we look at Mercedes, and despite everything, I say both of their drivers have just been putting consistent performance after consistent performance. So, according to my commentator, my napkin maths over here, while may not have the drivers' championship, certainly Mercedes, after this race and that P3, considering the differences to the rest of the field, Mercedes have comfortably taken home the fact they have won the Constructors' Championship for Series 1 of SwiftX. And say, what a most insane circumstance to lock it in with.
Congratulations to
in Brazil.
Absolutely. And you think that, Toto Wolff would be a little bit more happier, wouldn't it? Even though the whole scenario that occurs obviously in Formula 1 last season, but I always remind myself, Toto, you did win the Mercedes Championship, okay? So even though you're a little bit concerned about your driver, it's all about the points, and it's all about getting your car into the first garage coming into the new season. Congratulations, Mercedes. You've done it.
And it's like we're saying,
drivers is still up for grabs, but we don't really, at least the main points, like the ones that earn you their paycheck, of course, the one that earn the thousands and thousands of people that bring the cars to the track all around the world. That's the one you want to win. Mercedes have done it.
Yeah, and say that is, I think, sort of what happened. We saw a little bit today with Tanakin is just sort of playing a bit of the wider games, a bit more of the larger scope of the team, taking that into consideration. So as they jumped onto the wets, sort of making that judgment call and saying, okay, may not have the race in terms of position, but I still can lock in those much needed points for my team, and say pulled the real team effort and got that constructors win. But speaking of driver position, let's talk with none other than a familiar race winner. As we talked to him in Quay, and we'll talk to him after quite an insane, I'm going to be honest, a very sort of all over the place race session. Well, so Amir, tell me, how would you describe that race?
Roller coaster of emotions is my description of the race. 3-word race review if anyone watches WTF1. But yeah, roller coaster of emotions. Because I was watching Jasper the entire race, of course, and he was P10, I was happy, then suddenly he was P5, I was unhappy, he was catching up to he was P4 catching up to P3. I mean, it was just roller coaster of emotions. And at the safety car, I took the gamble to full widths, worked out, and unluckily Jasper did the same. I really wish he didn't, but he made a good call. And
biggest decision of your life at that point, isn't it? Because you're the first one going in there, and you have to make the call, right? And everybody else is going to either follow you or not. teammate did and lost a lot of time. Of course, Lenny Cook has been doing a fantastic job. Don't forget your Carlos. Not your Carlos, of course, the other one. Yeah, but that was stressful for you, wasn't it? Because it was like you could easily go from your domination of P1 to nowhere land if you got the wrong call.
Yeah, it was a 50-50 gamble, and I took it. I was quite happy I took it. Lenny also, he didn't. Wait, the fun part is at the first safety car, when it started raining, he told me to go in because it's gonna be wet, Inter's time, and I didn't believe him. So I went in, and it worked out perfectly. And then at the full wet safety car, I said to him, "We're going in. It's full wet time," and yeah, we were kind of saying thanks to each other during the race.
Are you listening to us in the cast? Because have I ever got the weather forecast wrong in the past?
I didn't listen. I should maybe in Abu Dhabi if it rains.
You never listened to the game, the engineers, but you called it right, mate. You have the experience. You said that. That's the thing. You said you practiced a lot of time on this track. Did you practice changeable conditions like that? Because that's something you cannot practice, right?
No, I believe in my raw talent in the changeable conditions.
Oh, wow. So I believe you may very much be the world championship at the moment. Well, Mercedes are the world champions, but you're not the Mercedes car at the moment, so that's nothing that's going to deal with you. But are you the world champion of the SwiftX Motor Series? That's what we're crunching some numbers. But what a call. And the trifecta is yours, my friend. Pole position, fastest lap, 109.9 during the race, which is quite about a second almost quicker than everybody else. Changeable conditions, and got the race win. And even when your championship competitor, and he still managed to finish on the podium, mate, because he was struggling a little bit at that point. Got the job done.
Yeah. Congratulations to Mercedes, Jasper, and Luke Tenbrinke for winning the constructors as well.
Gents are very hyped if you do win the drivers. We'll talk about that one in a minute, of course.
Yeah, I think they always had
my NordVPN.
I think they always had the edge. They're two amazing guys working together well. I think no one's gonna beat that, except for me and Lenny. But we got together a bit late. But next season, Lenny and I are taking the constructors, no doubt about that.
Did you double stack there? I know Lenny actually had backed up a few of the drivers before as you go in the pit lane, the late safety car. Yeah. And all Lenny could do, of course, he has to, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's legal in the rules. Is just back up as much as he can. And then, of course, there's still the double stack. Cost Lenny a ton of places. And Lenny actually finished at P9. So, very sad day for Lenny when he could have had the AlphaTauris on P1, P2. But Lenny was your blocker, I have to say, mate, in this race. And a big shout out to Lenny for doing that and helping you.
100%. 100%. Unlucky we had to double stack. We talked about it during the safety car as well. And just unfortunate. And I got held in the pit as well when going out, so he lost even more time. So
is this redemption for Australia beating Denmark today? You just gonna lift up the trophy there for Denmark and get the SwiftX?
I don't see it as a victory because Jasper got P3, which is really strong for him in the championship. So
he made a good call, and he had a troubling race, my friend, from P7 to P3. He had to fight his way. We'll get him in a second. First of all, Benjamin, any questions? So hang around there, please, Emar. Of course, you're a very crucial part of this SwiftX championship. We can talk about the new season and stuff like that. We'll bring Benjamin questions. We'll bring Will in as well. Have a chat to us. So you can finish in P2.
Well, I think the main one is really just as the weather started to turn. So you saw it overcast, so you jump into the inters. Was there any sort of key thing that made you decide almost to gamble on the wets, or was it just like an intuition, like a gut feeling that this is how it was going to go?
The full wets or the inters?
I'll say to go on the full wets.
It was I saw it raining, I saw a lot of standing water, and I was just like, there is no way to inter, because I had already on the lap, already before the safety car came out, I already told Lenny that shit, it's going to be full wets any second now. I'm sorry. But I said, beep, it's going to be full wets anytime soon. And we decided, we're going to stay out because we can't make up that much time. And then the safety car came, and I told him, we're going in. I have to go in. Can't risk losing this race.
And it was a good call, because those intermediate drivers that did stay out, that were in midfield, by the end of that lap, because only a couple of laps to go, they all dropped. So it was the top 6 or 7, I believe it was, who were on wets, and everybody else on the inters were struggling. And you got to remember too, the reason why the safety car was called out is because those intermediate drivers were struggling in those conditions. Were you struggling towards those dying stages of that inter run, keeping that car on the track? You had a bit of a momentum, you had a bit of a gap, a couple of seconds down the road, but were you worried about just keeping that car on track?
I was driving safe because I had 2 warnings for track limits and I didn't want to get a penalty. So I was just cruising around, chilling. I had nothing. I mean, I was just managing my pace and trying to match Ido. I think that was the smartest decision not to.
Well, thank you very much. I believe we need to talk to Jasper Ten Hag, and of course we need to bring them in the challenging for this series with you, Benjamin. If we can bring Mr.
Yeah, I just have to say one more question, and this is sort of like more racing tactics, and say your opinion. Track limit warnings. Do you treat them as avoid at all cost, or do you treat them like so many others I've talked to, which is like, okay, I get 2 free cuts and then I got to be careful?
Avoid at all costs for me.
Okay.
I can't risk it because, for example, in the beginning of the race, I had to push a lot, and I got those 2 warnings from pushing a lot, and that's not good because usually you would want to save. I mean, if you want to push a lot in the end of the race, you can't push as much because you have 2 warnings. For me, it's avoid at all costs and risk them later if they should come.
Oh, fair enough. I'd say it's insightful. So I've seen so many different approaches to, say, such a small mechanic as warnings, but very insightful. Anyway, relish another win, mate. How are you feeling heading into Abu Dhabi? Final round.
It's all in Jasper's hands. I have to do my best again. I'm hoping law of attraction is on my side. I've been trying to attract it, that I will win, but it's in Jasper's hands if he messes up or not.
It's going to be another wet race. I can guarantee that right now. It's going to happen. So anyway, congratulations.
Thank you.
Great job, mate. And there we go. So going to waste no time. Going to bring in Jasper Ten Hag, and in fact, going to also bring in Luke de Brinker, because it's a very special day. I mean, first off, Ten Hag, congratulations for your performance out there today, but also that performance was key in the Mercedes team getting the constructors title. How you feeling?
Well, I'm still a bit pumped up after the race because it didn't really look like it was going to be a good result until the last few laps. I was not really happy with the pace, but when the last safety car came out, and I felt like I was like aquaplaning on the straight almost. It was with puddles everywhere. So I think pitting to wets was the right call. And then at the restart, you could instantly see like the guys on wets had so much more grip. And yeah, I think it got a bit hairy in turn 4. But to end P3, 2 places behind the mirror is something I would have signed for in the beginning. So I'm quite happy.
Yeah, and really, in terms of the switching to the wets, and I asked the same to Amir, was there any particular guiding decision behind that, or especially given your position, say, a bit further behind, say, drivers' pride on the line, was it a bit more of a Hail Mary, so to speak, switching to those full wets?
Oh, I think I was quite confident, really, because I knew from before the race, the forecast was that it was going to be raining like quite heavily at the end, and I felt at like 5-6 laps to go already that it started to rain quite a lot, and then there were puddles forming on the racing line, like the grip like faded away very quickly, and then when the safety car came out, I was quite sure that when we would restart, I would have had so much more grip on the wet, so I think it was a no-brainer really.
And Jasper, I'm not quite sure if you were involved in that one, because there's a little bit of action that happened those last couple of laps, didn't there, Ben? And of course, we only have one camera one time. I saw 4 to 5 cars wide in certain corners. Were you a part of that party? I knew you held up a little bit by the McLaren into those couple of corners as you were battling with Cass, and I believe there an email was a little bit red. Email got a great launch there out of that final restart. How did that all pan out? Explain to us what happened there on that safety car restart on the wets.
Yeah, well, of course, it's a bit of a gamble for everyone. No one knows how much grip you'll have going like full race speed again, going into turn one, because you have cold tires because there's a safety car.
So just to elaborate real quick, what position were you in on that late safety car restart?
That's a tough one. I think I was around P7.
Yeah, I figured you were pretty far back, right? You had Inter runners in front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was all just, we have to watch the highlights back, of course, the race replay back. But yeah, exactly what happened. I want to know from your perspective.
Yeah, well, of course, what I said in turn one, you never know how much grip you're gonna get on cold tires on the full wets. You know, it's very tricky, especially also the guys on Inters, they didn't know as well. So breaking into turn one, I already saw a few people on Inters, they misjudged their grip levels, so they went off. And Amir and I on the wets, we could just slip through, and then he had a nice run going like on the exit of turn 3, I think that is. He had a nice run, like he could go around the outside of 2 Inter runners. I didn't really have the gap to follow him through. But then into turn 4, yeah, it was a bit of a mess, because I think Lenny, Amir's teammate, he was on wets as well. Yeah, and he wants, of course, to back me up as much into the pack again as he could. So yeah, we touched a little bit. I mean, he touched me, but yeah, I spoke to him just a moment ago. We disagree a bit on it, but it's not too heavy. But I think it did cost me the P2 in the end. So that, because Cass could just flip through everyone and go to P2. But I think if I didn't have the slight contact with Lenny in turn 4, I think P2 was definitely on the table. But yeah, it's okay.
I think at that point, mate, when 5 cars are going into one corner, you'd just be happy to even finish on a podium, because it could have all pole shaped the other way. It was a madness towards that. We didn't even know what was going on. It was just, it was fun. It was risky, of course, and you can't risk it for the biscuit too much, because you are in a championship hunt, of course. You need to get every single point you possibly can. I know you want to win the race, but it is that situation of do or die. I have to say it was really good for you too, because at some points I was seeing you down to like P8 and P9. I was like, damn, Jasper's in big trouble here. But at the end, you're talking about the last couple of laps, you got a podium, mate. Yeah, I'd have to say you should be pretty impressed with that, and not to mention the Constructors' Trophy.
Yeah, I think in the end, I'm happy to. It wasn't looking too great in the dry, so I was happy it started raining. So I think we were much more competitive in the rain. I think it's quite a good summary of our whole season, to be honest, because we have not always been the fastest on track. Like almost, yeah. I think maybe only Hungary we were actually the fastest car on track. All the others we were just like always there, like minimize your lows and just always scoring, always on the podiums. And I think that's in the end what helped us win it. So I'm quite happy.
Excellent. Before I go to you, Ben.
Consistency.
Well, the Dutch drivers have had a championship slip between their fingers before, but I tell you what, the Dutch come back and win a couple back-to-back, don't they, Ben? So we'll have to look forward to next season.
Yeah, and I think, let's say one last question before we head off, and quickly to talk about next season. Are we expecting the same team pairing?
Well, yeah, I think we can let Luke answer that, but if it's up to me, it is. But maybe he thinks different. But if it's up to me, it is.
I've a bit of a rough time with the game at the moment, but I think that next season I'll be back, and then I think you can see the same driver pairing. Yes.
Amazing. Well, it's a great performance.
And Ricardo's up for a drive, mate, so you may want to see if you can sign him up for a contract, but it'd be good to see you guys back again. Sorry, Ben, go ahead.
So great stuff from the both of you. So remember, both your performances, days in, days out. Like you said, minimizing the lows, that consistency, always bringing home the points, and it's stacking up. It's what really made the difference, and what really sort of brought you the Constructors title. So take a rest, well earned, and we'll see you next week for the final round of the season. Any sort of passing thoughts regarding that final round?
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be quite a show. I don't know what the gap is in points exactly, but I think we can expect some dramatic finale. I think if we look at real life as well, Abu Dhabi last year, I hope it's not that dramatic with a safety car on the last lap overtake. But yeah, I think it will be a bit dramatic. Yes.
Great
I'm
stuff.
just gonna try and help Jasper the best I could, I think. So the inner Perez.
You're doing a good job, but you don't worry about Michael Massey. He's been fired. You only have Ben and myself, so you'll be all good to go, guys. And congratulations there, Benjamin.
Signs of a true team. But Take care of yourselves both, and we look forward to seeing what you bring next week.
Yes, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And there you go. That's Mercedes. It's championship constructors winners. And yeah, and they said it best, minimizing the lows. Not having the highest highs, but bringing that consistency in. Now we have one more person to talk to, and that is going to be, of course, Will Casson. And just sort of wanted to gain perspective. First off, congratulations on your performance out there today. How would you describe your race out there today, Will?
A bit of a mixed bag. I kind of went for the safe option with the hards. Then I can't remember what lap it was, but I disconnected and rejoined, and my AI had used all of my ERS. That was wonderful. Then nearly died and did a Verstappen-esque save coming out of turn 4, but lost loads of positions and just didn't lose my wing. And then final safety car, started the lap P9, got up to P8 in turn 1, and then turn 4 I went from P8 to P3, and then yeah, so pretty nuts, a bit all over the place really.
Really, is there anything that you would have, if you had the power of hindsight, is there anything you would have done differently, or would you say you just sort of worked within the best means?
Hindsight, I would have started on mediums. I think if it wasn't for the safety cars, they would have really struggled towards the end of their stint if they were trying to make it to the rain. But hindsight's a wonderful thing, obviously. And then pit on the wets like Amir and Jasper did. Lap 34, 33. That was an amazing call by a big risk from Amir, and then Jasper obviously making the smart play and following, but obviously it paid off massively.
And just to I don't know, Will, obviously you did a fantastic job. These 17 laps on those hard tires, where the other P1 and P3 were 17 laps on the mediums.
Yeah.
You were pacey on that. I was surprised. You were good. You were quick. You were defending like mad. You didn't have the tire grip or the tire pressure or the tire temperatures. Still got the job done. Of course, it all switched over the inters and wets towards the end, similar to everybody else. But how was that pressure? Everybody else was on those medium tires around you, and what was going through your mind to hold off them?
I mean, the pressure was kind of not there. I've pretty much bottled most of the season anyway, so the only pressure I had was trying not to spin like I have done in 95% of the races. Other than that, it was, especially in the first few laps, I think it was Larsen overtook me and Jasper, and both of them, it was so early on in the stint, I knew they were going to have better tyres. It was much more beneficial for me to let them through and just try and stick in DRS and trying to fight and waste tyre grip and just lose time to the people at the front. So I think it was about playing it smart, and then when the opportunity arose, if they ever made a mistake or if suddenly the hards sort of became the better tyre, sort of using the ERS that I would have saved just sitting in the DRS really.
But you did. That was the thing. You did.
Yeah.
You made it work. Yourself, E2 as well. You have granted E2. He made those hard tires work quite brilliant, but he boxed a little bit earlier. He did 17 laps on those hard tires. Held off very quick drivers. Good defensive driver, as you said. You are a different strategy. You played a different ball game, but you played it very smartly, my friend, because you started P3, got P2, and did the job there for the Aston Martin. You know that Ben loves Aston Martin, so give a big smile on Ben's face.
Are you a big fan there, Ben? Are you a number one fan?
All I'm saying is I may have had a bit of a jaunt in a DB11, and it may have swayed some of my opinions towards the brand.
Well, unfortunately, unlike the real drivers, I don't get a nice big Aston Martin parked on me drive. That'd be nice.
We'll sort that out, mate. SwiftX, of course, of all the sponsorship. Maybe NordVPN will bring you a brand new Aston Martin in your garage at some point in the future, of course.
Oh, nice. Does that come out like the winner's jackpot or something?
Don't quote me on that one, mate. But
okay,
we'll see how it pans out. But it was a good drive, mate. You must feel good, right? I mean, you're going into a penultimate. You have one more race to go. You want to end a race win coming your way, perhaps, in Abu Dhabi?
It'd be nice. I've finished pretty much every position this season. I've started on the front. I've started at the back. I cannot get the win. And the only time I got close was Spain, where I decided to spin and put myself on a wall, which I do quite a lot, to be fair. But I just can't. With Jasper and Amir, I just can't see beating.
Will?
Yeah.
What does your name start with?
A W.
ILL. But there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah, I know.
You're
but when
going
there's-
to win Abu Dhabi, all right?
with the best will in the world, I ain't beating
Yeah.
Amir or Jasper, so we can.
Come on, mate. You can do it.
I'll take third, and then maybe I don't know.
Oh, come on, Will. I need to see more motivation from you. You got Ben that loves the Aston Martins. 007 James Bond's on your side. Come on, mate. There's nothing. You got green.
If
Green's
Ben
great.
paints his face and puts his camera on for the final stream, I'll go for the win. How about that?
Oh, challenge, Ben?
We will see.
We'll see. Exactly. We'll see. I like it.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, congratulations, mate. It's good to see you, and I hope to see you on the top step again with the bubbly stuff, but on the top step.
Cheers, mate. Cheers, boys.
And there you go. They are sort of top drivers from today's session, but we look forward now, and it's almost bittersweet because we look at the calendar. Our final race of Series 1. Now, of course, as work is already going on in the background for Series 2, Season 2. Definitely don't want to be going anywhere just because this season's ending. The party is only just starting. But say, Yas Marina, of course, wouldn't really be a modern F1 calendar without this track being an all climactic finale. Say, moonlit skies and hotel glowing in neon. I don't know, what are your opinions on this track?
I don't want to talk too much about that one. I did love the track, but I tell you what, I mean, imagine if this was Brazil for the last round. I'm sorry. I'm the classic man, but it is what it is. That's Formula One, of course, and it's been elected by everybody at the start of the season, of course. And if you want to be a part of the season, of course, Season 2 sign-ups and all that sort of stuff. So if you want to be a part of the voting for the calendar of the next round and say, Biggles, I agree with you, we might not want to have this track here, this track there, whatever. You got to be in it to vote, don't you, Ben? All we do as casters bring the energy, but I'll tell you what, the energy is definitely being brought by NordVPN and all the sponsors, and of course the fantastic crew at the SwiftX Motor Racing Series. As you said, one more to go, Ben. So no Christmas time just for you just yet until we get this one wrapped up next week.
Yeah, so final race, Abu Dhabi, Yas Marina Circuit, champions are made, keep it SwiftX, and we will see you next week for the final round of Series 1.